Everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Super excited about this one. We're going to be talking about building AI apps with Bolt.new and Make.com. Bolt is an AI coding tool, and Make.com is an automation workflow platform. So I have a short presentation to share, and then we're going to get into looking at some apps I've built, and I'm going to be sharing and talking about some tips and techniques for creating these apps. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and present this. So my name is Mark Fulton. I'm a prompt engineer and solopreneur. Primarily, I do weekly AI training at reinventing.ai, cutting edge solutions on building AI agents, automation, AI apps, tools, and all kinds of different AI solutions. I also have a set of Smart GPT prompt enhancement service and a Didus AI agent for marketing, and a few other things. If you're interested, feel free to reach out to me. So Bolt plus Make.com, basically what we're doing today is building full stack apps that are serverless, which is pretty incredible. I mean, there is a server hosting the landing page, essentially, but all of the action is being done by a Make.com automation. The actual functionality part is done by a Make.com automation. And you can also implement AI workflow steps within Make.com. So let me see. All right. So what makes this unique and powerful? It is basically, I'm trying to mute someone here. Okay. So what makes this powerful is that you can edit your app without updating the website. So basically, once your app is completed, you can actually make changes just by editing your Make.com automation workflow. You don't have to republish the site. You don't have to edit any code or make any prompt requests to Bolt. If you want to change something, add functionality, add an LLM step, edit a prompt in your ChatGPT steps, you can do that all from the Make.com automation, and your website just updates dynamically because it's using that automation in the background. So that's one cool thing. So that basically the second point is similar. You can add functionality and even stop functionality if you needed to. So say like someone's abusing your app, or you want to limit functionality or something like that, you can stop it by taking it off of your Make automation. Another benefit is that you don't have to deal with API keys in the backend. So even if somehow your code got exposed, you accidentally published it to GitHub or something like that, or if your code was insecure in some way, the API keys are not there at all. They're all found in your Make automation, so it's super secure. And then there's virtually no hosting costs to start this. You can get started with Bolt for free. They give you some free trial credits. I'm definitely a huge fan of Bolt, as you probably are aware, or some of you are aware. I'm doing a lot of training on this lately and building some really cool stuff. So I paid for millions of tokens on Bolt. I'm getting a lot of good use out of it. I think you'll be interested as well, potentially. So, and then Make.com also has a free number of processes that you can have and a free number of scenarios as well. So you can technically get started. And what Bolt does is it deploys to a service called Netlify, which is also initially free for quite a good amount of usage. So you can get started doing this with all the introductory base plans. And it's super affordable if you do decide to scale up. So here's some just a quick example AI apps. We're going to look at a couple of these today. Scrape content. It can be a website. It can be from various API services. We're going to look at scraping Google News, and then you can generate articles. So you can have an article generation app, which is a super compelling and useful use case, especially for SEO. You can do LinkedIn posting. So Make.com has a LinkedIn integration where you can connect to your account, posts to your either your company page or your personal profile. I have an app that we're going to look at that does that. Website analysis, another great use case. This is where you would just scrape the content of a website URL and then generate some valuable insights. And there's the third app that we're going to look at today that does that. A couple other ideas, file enhancement. So you could have someone upload a resume or any type of spreadsheet. There is some token limitations on file sizes, but you can still create some cool solutions. Where you would have the user upload a file or input a photo, whatever it may be, and then have a make automation that does something cool with that. Lead magnets. So this is a good use case where you can collect field data from users, gather some information about their business, whatever it may be that you want to collect, their contact information, etc. And then you can take that information and run it through an AI step to generate some insights, some valuable report, an analysis, something of value for that user that you can use as a lead magnet. They get something of value, you get their contact information, and potentially can follow up or do some marketing automation and have it fully automated where you reach out to them. So there's 4 key components that make this workflow Bolt plus Make work. So the input fields, as I've discussed a little bit, whatever you want the user to input to start off your app. So whether it's a URL to scrape, whether it's their name and company information, whether it's a file upload, that's one of the first key component. The second is the app JSON schema, which I'll explain in more detail. But basically, it's the structure of the data input fields. Make.com needs to make sure that it's getting the right structure. And I'll show you how to do that. And then the make scenario itself, of course, is your automation workflow, whatever it may be for your particular app. The make scenario is a key component. And then the response schema is our make scenario is going to send a response back to our app. And we need to make sure that that response is in a structured schema that the app can collect and do something with. So those are the 4 key components. So we'll walk through doing all of those and apps. So quickly, JSON is structured schema containing properties that define the data format. And it's basically how apps and tools and APIs send and receive data. It's technically not really code. It's just kind of like a data structure format that the app reads. I typically don't need to share the presentation because it's in the webinar replay. But if you like, I'll send you a link. All right, let's get started. Create AI apps with Bolt and Make. Let's do it. We've got 3 apps to look at and 5 make scenarios that make these apps work. So, and then I'll hopefully be able to maybe walk through building one as well live. Let me share. So everyone that attended today, thank you so much. I don't think I mentioned that. Thanks for joining. I appreciate you coming. And if it's your first time, welcome. So I'll be sharing this training document with everyone. I typically send it by email immediately after the webinar as well. So look out for that for people that couldn't make it live. But I'm going to drop a link to this in the chat. You can follow along. Try not to get too ahead of yourself or distracted. But here is the document. All right, so the tech stack is Bolt.new, Make.com, Dumpling AI, which I'm a really big fan of. I've been using a ton of. It's basically an API service that can do lots of cool things, like scrape Google News, generate images, do all kinds of stuff. We'll look at more what it can do. And then OpenAI, if you're going to do AI steps, which is almost in every AI app, you're going to need an OpenAI API key. If you don't know, you can get that at platform.openai. I'll link that shortly. Kind of already went over the input, the 4 key elements: input fields, webhook data, your make scenario, and your webhook response. And for the purposes of developing with this workflow, it has to be done in a very specific order. So this allows us to achieve the bridge between bolt and make. So I'm going to walk you through that order. I'm going to quickly just walk through the order, and then I'll show you the order, because it's going to make a lot more sense as I show you, but I'll basically just walk through the steps really quickly, and you'll have them here for future reference. So your initial bolt instructions, which I'm going to show you an example prompt down here shortly. Let me increase this. Okay. So you want to have a really solid initial prompt with your make webhook URL. And you're going to basically tell Bolt, hey, I want to build this, and I want to send the data to this make webhook. And then your step 2 is, once you have, you need to basically kind of have make and Bolt open at the same time to make this work. So basically you open up a new scenario, you select a webhook item, custom webhook, and that's what's going to kick off the app. And you'll add one, give it a name, doesn't really matter what it is, just something you can remember. And you'll notice here you get the webhook URL. You can copy it to your clipboard. That's going to go into your initial prompt. But you see how it's loading here? It says stop. I can hit stop, and it's basically trying to determine the data structure. So I can click redetermine, and basically it's listening for when data is going to be sent. So once our app is built, we'll send data to it, and it'll get that. It'll determine the data structure. So this sounds intimidating, but it's really not. You just have to do things in specific order, this specific order. So with your make webhook listening, you use your initial Bolt app, and then it will give an error. Your Bolt app won't work yet, but you'll notice on your make scenario, it'll say structure determined here. And that's all we need for step 2. And I'm going to do this for an example later. Create your make scenario. So that in your make scenario, and then your last step in your make scenario is going to be a webhook response. So, for example, just doing some, if you can't hear me or something, I'll fix it if I can. Just an example there. But your last step is going to be this webhook response. So you're going to select webhook again, and then click webhook response. And this is what's going to get sent back to our Bolt app. So for example, if we did generate an image with Dumpling, we would send back the URL of that image. And this is what's going to, we're going to do it in JSON schema though, but this is what's going to get sent back. And yeah, just doing right now, just doing a high level overview of the 4 steps. So don't worry about yet. I'll walk through the whole process. So then you basically need to tell Bolt what's getting sent back to it. You can also ask Bolt to do it. But yeah, if you follow these 4 steps, you can build any app, and once you see the examples, it'll be a lot better, a lot easier to understand. So this is an example Bolt prompt that I used to develop this app here. Yeah. Okay.
You probably.
Okay. So this app here generates LinkedIn posts, given a topic, and it's just going to generate an image, and it's going to generate a post, and it's going to it has the ability to publish it to LinkedIn. This is basically two make scenarios, and I'll look at them with you right now. So the first one is Dumpling News Scrape. Let's look at the prompt as well. So basically the prompt says, I want to build a style, mobile responsive. I want it to ask me what my name is so it can welcome me by name. And then it should have a large input field with labels and rounded corners, bright blue and white gradient. It will be powered by a make webhook request and response in a large text area labeled, what do you want to write about? I'm going to enter a topic or some details. So basically you're prompting Bolt with natural language, kind of describing the overall user experience of your proposed app. And then you say, send this inputs data to this make webhook URL. And this is where you paste that webhook URL from make. I'm then going to have a second webhook that will send the returned image and post content to be published to LinkedIn. So this is two make scenarios for this one app doing two different things. It doesn't have to be like that, but if you want to add functionality, you can. The second webhook is there. I'm telling it that the post content should be editable. Actually, this is redundant. Don't need that. We will send a success response back to inform the user the post has been published. The generated post ideas and their published, not published status should be saved in an area below in the browser cache. This is a really useful technique for saving content in a browser cache, kind of makes it a more robust app because we don't have a database. This is just going to work like a full app, but there's no database. It just gets saved in the browser cache. For 99% of the time, this is a fine way to run the app, especially if it's something that you're just using as a personal productivity tool, which would be this app, this type of app. This app is really just for yourself. You could expand upon it, but the LinkedIn connection part would be tricky. So this is kind of a personal productivity app. The other ones can be more of an app that you share with other people, potentially even turn into a software as a service type solution. This one here, more of something to help you post more on LinkedIn and get images and posts, starter posts right away. So that's the initial prompt. You can basically use this as a framework that kind of basically describe your app, tell it, I want to send those input fields to this make webhook. If you're going to do something else with another webhook, explain what's being sent. But basically this prompt here generated this app. You can see I also added a few other things afterwards, which I'll show you how to do. So I can just edit the webhooks here with a little settings page. I'll show you that it's working here. So on the back end right now, I just click generate. So it just sent that, it sent this topic to my make.com workflow right here. And now I'll show you what it's doing essentially. So it's taking that topic query from my webhook and it's searching Google News with the Dumpling API, Dumpling AI API for the latest 10 headlines from the past day. You can obviously adjust these settings if you want, but that's the second step. Then it's taking all of those results and aggregating them. Typically, you don't really need this, but because we're getting 10 results, we want to combine all of them into, I'm sorry, not combine. Yeah. Yeah, we're going to take all of them. We're going to take all of them and send it back to the app. So I've selected the fields I want to send, collect. So you can see here, I took everything except the item length and item index and the original query. So basically we're sending all of the 10 results, and then we're passing that array back into the webhook response. This is basically sending the 10 results back to the app. And you can, oh, I'm sorry, I got my wires crossed. This is the wrong app. I totally got my wires crossed. I'm thinking of 3 apps. So this is this is the make scenario that does that. I apologize. Got a little mixed up there. So let's go to, I got ahead of myself. We're not on this app. Let's go back to the LinkedIn app. So the LinkedIn app is generate post idea. Sorry about that. And if you're an AI Accelerator member, I'm going to be sharing all of these with you guys. I'm actually going to post it right now. So you guys have that now in the private community. You can get these bulk projects and the make scenario downloads right here. And if you're interested in joining, invite you to join. You get weekly AI training and all kinds of good stuff. Okay. So the LinkedIn posts idea generator takes the topic from the user that we input, and then it's going to create an image. Dumpling AI, there's lots of different ways you can create images with AI. You can do it with ChatGPT, DALL-E. I like to use Dumpling AI because they have some really cool models with Flux and other models for generating really nice images. So I'm passing that topic on, and I'm adding a little bit of instruction to tell them that this is for an article or a blog post. I'm giving it the ideal dimensions for LinkedIn. And then I am asking for JPEG and 90 quality. And then I also enabled prompt upsampling, because this is basically going to rewrite the prompt and make it a little more clear for the image generator model. So it's basically taking this input prompt, rewriting it if you enable this, and making it a little better. That's optional. So it's generating an image here. Then I'm also taking, in the next step, taking the topic and generating a blog LinkedIn post. So this is a pretty basic kind of starter point for a LinkedIn post. You're gonna want to revise this to write in your voice, write how you want it formatted. Everyone's gonna be a little bit different in how they want their LinkedIn posts, or it's basically meant to be a starter point for a LinkedIn post. I don't recommend posting fully AI generated content personally. Some people do that. I'm not a fan of doing that. I like to just, that's why I called this app an idea generator. So it's kind of giving you a starting point. And I've got some instructions here to kind of write humanized, personable language, first person perspective, be conversational, not too verbose or salesy, use the bottom line up front technique, don't use cliche turns of phrase, use natural language and sophomore level grammar. So this gives decent results. Let's see. So it generated this marketing image. It's still not great, I'll admit. it's still got some AI-esque type copywriting, but I didn't spend a whole ton of time on this prompt. So it's really meant for you to personalize to how you want. But basically, we're passing along this topic brief, giving it some instructions, and we get back a post. So now that we have our image, now that we have our post, we're going to send it back to the app. And as you can see, this is the JSON schema. I'm going to copy that to use later. So basically, you need to format your response in JSON. If you're not comfortable doing this yourself, it's fairly simple, but obviously it takes some getting used to. You can have ChatGPT ask you to write some JSON schema for you for an image and post content, and you'll come back with this. And basically what you do is ChatGPT will probably come back with something like that or URL if you ask it for some schema. So you want to delete this value and then select the image URL here from Dumpling. It drops it in there. Same thing for the post content. You would select the result from our ChatGPT chat completion request. And that's basically the scenario that generates the image and the prompt, the post. And this webhook response sends it back to our app and renders it here. The second make scenario is for publishing, and it's a pretty simple scenario to send it to LinkedIn, basically. So publish post to LinkedIn. So basically this one takes the image URL. So we're having Bolt send the image URL and the post. And what we're going to do is use an HTTP step to get this file, the image file, in a usable format for LinkedIn. So you need this HTTP module, paste the URL in, and then have a LinkedIn step next, where you have this will get automatically mapped. So if you do this HTTP file step first, create a LinkedIn post step, this will automatically get mapped for you to get that image file. You can give it a title, alt text if you want, but really you don't need that for this app. And then you want to pass the post content along. That's basically it. And this will now post directly to your LinkedIn profile. You can also change it to, this could be a company post as well. That's a different option on the LinkedIn module. So that's it for this scenario. We don't actually probably should have created a response. I think I neglected to do that, like successful response. It doesn't really matter. Like I could have done webhook response 200 and then done like status published. Then delete that. So that would be like a successful response that we could send back to the Bolt app. But it works regardless without this step, particularly because we don't really need anything back. We just publish the app. But you can also have that work. Okay, so that's the first app, LinkedIn Post Idea Generator. And let's look at this one, NewsGen AI, which I mistakenly got started on a little bit too soon. So this one will scrape, sorry for jumping out. This one will scrape Google News using Dumpling AI. And it's the best Google News Scraper that I've found particularly effective because it allows us to get the source URLs reliably. And we're going to use those source URLs to actually scrape the URLs as well. So we kind of already went through this. We're going to get the query from the user, the search topic, keywords that they enter. And Dumpling AI is going to scrape the top 10 daily results, aggregate them, send them back to the app. The second scenario is for generating articles. So Dumpling scrape to article. And as you can see here, that's what's going to spit out. I'll show you this in action right now. It's actually pretty fast, or it was earlier at least. So right now, boom, it scraped Google News and grabbed the top 10 headlines. So you can see the source URL, you can see a little snippet, time when it was published. So this is great because it's actually gathering stuff that is really, really relevant and fresh. Great content and context for generating SEO articles. So you can see the source URL, that search button there, and this keyword, that's the first scenario. And then now the second scenario is for this generate button. This generate button is going to send all of the information about this specific news item to our second make scenario, which is here. And what we're going to do is scrape the source article. So we're taking that source link with the Dumpling module. We're going to scrape it in Markdown format. We're going to clean the data and leave render JavaScript on. So this is going to return the content of that article to us. Then we're going to take that content and have a ChatGPT step to generate an article. And if it loads here, okay. So I've got basically fairly simple, again, this is meant to be customized to how you like your articles. Basically, this is very introductory SEO article prompt. Expert copywriter. Okay. Okay. Write an SEO friendly article about this news headline. I don't know why I have this system prompt here. I might need to adjust that. Just respond with the article content. This. Okay. I think this doesn't need to be here actually. I'm not sure why I'm asking it to respond. Okay. Return only the requested article in Markdown format with no other commentary. Oh, okay. I see. I was thinking of the other. Yeah, we're writing an article and we're returning it in Markdown format. Okay, I got it now. So basically, this is a system prompt to tell it to write the article, return it in Markdown format. Do not place it in a Markdown code block. Just respond with the article alone. No other commentary. And here's some user step that we're passing all of that article data that we selected. That particular article, we're passing the title, the keywords, the description, the URL, and the scraped content. And then this will give us our final article result. And then we just send that result to the app. If you have just one item to your Bolt app, it's fine to just have it here with no JSON schema. You really need the schema if you have multiple items. But if you just have one, it's fine to just paste, to just select result. That will work just fine. So that will return, you can see down here, I've got some example articles that it generated. It's gonna, so for example, if I hit generate here, in a minute or two, I'll have another article down here generated with powered by this workflow. Oh, not this one, this one. Sim, I don't really want to make these public because it is my API keys and it's using my make scenarios and everything. So I'm actually going to I'm happy to share this one, the website prospector that we're going to talk about next, to try out for a limited time. But I don't really have plans to make these public. Sorry about that. But you can build your own. That's the beauty of this training. This is meant for you to, you can take this prompt here, build your own. Bolt app prompt, so website prospector. Here's a basically very similar technique, but this one is a different app. So I want to build a minimal but powerful client analysis application powered by a make scenario, give it a title, give it a slogan. I want a nicely styled icon, use rounded corners and professional best practices for a modern app design. So if it's not clear to you guys already, I have quite an extensive background in web development. So I'm actually kind of got a little bit of an advantage over most people, but I'm excited to share these techniques and prompts with you so you can kind of get a jump start and build some really cool stuff from my experience. So I've built websites for over 20 years now. So I'm really kind of got an advantage for these bulk prompting techniques, but I'm excited to show them. I want to have a large, bold, centered input field. And then here's my make webhook. So this one is just one single input, one URL input. I wanted it to be super user friendly. So just, and like inviting for people to use. I'll drop a URL. So yeah, if you guys want to try it, here's the app link. And it'll work for a little while. I just don't want to run out of credits or have someone abuse it, use it a bunch of times and eat up all my dumpling credits. But I do have quite a bit. So anyone here, feel free to use it. Just scrape a couple potential client websites. Let me go back to the prompt. So while this one does have one input, I did want quite a bit to come back from the scraping results. So we're going to scrape that URL. And now I'm telling it, I'm telling it I want to have a webhook response with the following data points. So you can just list out what you want back. And this is important because the app needs to be built to account for the returned JSON schema data, whatever you're bringing back. And I'm going to run an analysis and have the LLM generate all of this for me. So I need to tell Bolt that. And then this is a technique where I can get it to give me the JSON that I need for the app. So this prompt here is kind of like a little hack to get Bolt to actually give me the schema I need. And I'll show you that right now. This one is just one scenario instead of two. And it is website prospector. And what we're going to do is we're take that URL, same as before, except this time we're going to scrape, but we're not going to clean the data. The reason being is that we want to grab as much as we can from this potential client's website. And that information may be in the headers, it may be in the footers. So we're going to grab everything. So for this purpose, I'm selecting to not clean the data. We want everything. So we're scraping that potential client's website. And with the results of that scraping, we're going to have, this one's a bit more advanced, but it's super powerful technique. I spoke about more about this in a previous webinar. Basically, we're going to get ChatGPT to give us that structured JSON schema from this list that I provided Bolt. And this is how it works. So basically it says you're an expert at generating structured JSON. We're hoping to gain insights from a potential client. Here is the JSON schema you are to use with example data. I wanted to make sure it knows this is just example data. Don't use this actual data. Please update the data with your estimations. So I'm giving it an example schema. And you can have ChatGPT help you do this. That's what I did. Basically, I said, here are the items I want. Please give me some JSON schema for this data in ChatGPT, and it gave me that result. Website prospect. Okay. So I given this example schema. And then I said, please respond only with this strict JSON schema customized for the client and no other commentary. Do not make up URLs or contact information if not found. And do not wrap the JSON in a markdown code block. Only respond with valid JSON. So just a few tricks there to make sure, doubly sure that it's kind of just giving me what I want. And I have one other technique that I'm going to show you that makes sure that this works pretty smoothly. So with that done, we're going to send the result back to the Bolt app with the webhook response. So again, just sending that chat completion result from the previous module. So Bolt will then get that result and render it like this. Pretty amazing stuff. If I was quite impressed. So it's got contact info. If the items are empty, which will happen, they just won't display. So for example, this one doesn't have any social media. But if I look at this other one, it's got social media. It's actually in Italian, but that's because the website was in Italian. I just did an example site. So it gives you key insights, brand analysis. It's got these icons. It's got some colorization. I actually did go a little beyond this prompt. So this is a starting point. This prompt here will get you something close to this app here. But I think I followed up with, please format the rendered results in a more visually appealing layout with some unique colors and icons. Something like that as a follow-up prompt, and you'll get, a better result. You can be very granular with what you say to Bolt to make changes beyond what you see here. But this initial prompt here should get you something like this with your make webhook and response. Yeah. If you're, as I said before, an accelerator member, I'll send you this exact project so you can start from this, what I've already built. You've got that to download. All right, so again, there's the link if you want to join the accelerator program, and then the members have the private downloads. Come in. Okay, so this prompt is usually when we're building solutions with Make. This is something you're probably going to want to do every single time, just out of an abundance of caution, to make sure that we can avoid errors that are common. So one common thing that ChatGPT and other LLMs often do is when you ask for JSON, structured JSON, like we just did in that last prompt, this last prompt step, even though I just showed you that I told it never to put it in a markdown code block. Sometimes it still will. Oh, and I should mention, I'm also using O1 Mini for this step because I want a little bit more intelligence. It's going to cost me a bit more, but we're talking about potential client prospects here, so I think the value outweighs a cheaper model. And we're doing some pretty complex JSON schema here. So I chose the O1 Mini model, and it's working well. I think it would work better rather than 4.0 Mini. But I wanted to mention, even though I'm saying do not wrap in a markdown code block, sometimes it still will. And what we can do to avoid an error if it does that is to send this follow-up prompt to Bolt and just tell it sometimes the scenario will return inside of a code block. And this is, I'm explaining to Bolt what it looks like. It already knows, but really, and I'm saying, please take this into account and adjust the code to handle this scenario. So this just makes sure that the app is going to work smooth. So if you're using this Bolt plus make workflow, make sure you follow up with this prompt as well. It's just helpful in case of that happening. And then another follow-up potential prompt you can do is if you don't want to edit the make webhook yourself, you can have it do a little settings configuration where you can paste the webhook in yourself. This prompt will do that. So here's some ideas for apps that you can build with this kind of technique. You can do a resume enhancer. Basically, it would take some inputs or a PDF resume upload from the user, scrape the PDF content, generate a ChatGPT step to improve it, or structured schema, which would be even cooler, sections and things like that, headings, titles. Anyway, you get the idea. And then it gives a enhanced resume back. But what would make this even cooler and more useful for the user is to actually do a second step where you search for jobs related to that user's resume and give them some potential jobs at the same time as you enhance their resume. I think that would be really cool. Survey collection plus insights. You could collect some data from a user, the URL, you could scrape the URL, you can generate some insights, type of lead magnet, essentially. Google autocomplete data. This is one of the Dumpling AI module features. So if I go in here, this is kind of my test workflow here. So I'll add a module. I'll select Dumpling AI. You can see that it does a lot of cool stuff. And one of the features that you can do is get Google autocomplete, which I think, oh, okay, I didn't connect it. But yeah, you can get Google autocomplete based on a search query. So if I send a search query, I can get a list back of potential high value SEO keywords. So you can basically build a keyword tool. And then expand upon that. I don't know how with AI potentially. There's a lot you could potentially do. Similarly, Google Places lead scraping. You can have a certain industry or type of business, scrape Google Places, give people some leads to download. That could be a valuable solution that you provide as a service. Create a Google Doc from a template. That would be just a Google Doc step. So Make has thousands of integrations. So you can really do so much depending on what kind of CRMs or platforms that you use. Take your pick. You can do some really cool things. Even do some email solutions, Slack solutions to send the daily Google News to your Slack channel or something like that. Stripe could be very interesting as well. I don't know off the top of my head, but there's some cool stuff you can do with Stripe. And what was I looking at? Oh, Google Docs. So Google Docs has a create document from template. So you would basically create a Google Docs template. There's a certain way you have to build it. You can search how to do it, but you can create an app where if you already have a template, you can take some inputs from the user and then create a structured template. That's just one idea. I want to try to quickly, I've got like 9 minutes. I want to try to quickly walk through just so you can visually see. Let's do the Google autocomplete app idea. So I'm going to try really quickly. I want to build a simple SEO keyword tool with Google autocomplete data. I'm going to collect, I'm going to have one large input field for a starter keyword that I will send to my make.com webhook. Webhook will respond with the autocomplete suggestions. I'm doing a simple prompt here, so it might not look as nice as my other ones. If you add, I could add these other prompt instructions. I guess I'll copy them quickly. And I need to give, let's start with the new scenario here. I don't need this. So create new scenario. We're going to start with our webhook. I wish Make was faster. It's quite slow. So add a webhook. Google autocomplete, call it that. And then copy this into our prompt. Here we go. Copy that there. And please render the returned search autocomplete suggestions and save them for each search in the browser cache. So now you can see that it's actually listening for results. So what else do I need here? I think this should be fine for starters. I may need to help it with the return schema. And I do want to make sure that you turn on, under settings, make sure that you turn on diffs before you get started. It's going to save you a lot of tokens, and it's going to edit line by line instead of rewriting entire files on Bolt. Really useful feature. So right now it's creating the app. One thing to note is that your webhook will be in this app.tsx file. You can see it here. If you do need to edit it, which if you're using my projects members, you'll need to edit eventually the make webhook. All right. So we've got our app with a crazy, ugly background, which we can obviously change. And it's very simple. But what you need to do now is, this is not going to work because it's doesn't have this make scenario yet. But while this is listening, make sure this is running and listening. We will test or run the app. So you can see there, and it's going to give an error. That's to be expected. But if we go back, we can see that it says successfully determined. That's what we needed. So now we can do our dumpling step, and we can go to Google Get Autocomplete. And now we have our keyword. That should be fine. And then what we're going to do is webhook response. Let's see if this is mapped. I don't think that's gonna work. Let me run this actually. I'm gonna run this module only to test it. And then just I'm gonna manually put a keyword in. So this is what we get back from Bolt. I'm sorry, from Dumpling, the results. We may need to do that. Yeah, I think we need to do that array step. So I'm gonna add a module. Um, array aggregator value. This is the, I believe the keyword value, which is from Dumpling. That should be good. And then our response will be this array. So this should work. We save this. And then you can now test by clicking run once. So if you hit run once, it will start listening for new data from the Bolt app. So I just want to test it again and see what it does. Okay, so it doesn't really know what schema it should be in. My response is a JSON array. Let's see if that works. We may need to missing value required prevent. What? Let's see. Unexpected token A. I'm gonna undo this. Oh, yeah, I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna revert back. This is very handy if you encounter something that kind of messes up your app. I love that Bolt has that revert option. Um, but yeah, let me see. Another thing that's useful is if you go into webhooks here on Make, useful for debugging. Um, it will load up your webhook logs and you can kind of see what's going on in the backend. Very useful for debugging, but this is really the most challenging step is getting that return data back. Usually, depending on the app, it's more challenging than others. Sometimes it works smoothly. Others a little bit more difficult. So we've got, sorry for all my webhooks here. Let me find the right one. Google autocomplete. We'll look at the logs, detail. So if we go down, keyword, body. Okay, so this is not what we wanted to send. It just says accepted. So that may be the problem. So our response in our, we need to change this. Let's try value.
Morning, everyone. We'll give it a couple more moments for people to join.
And then I need to save this,
You enjoyed the long weekend.
save this. And let it run once. Wait for new data. Okay. Failed to fetch suggestions. Please try again. Body AI. Okay. So that's also not what we want to send. What are we aggregating here? Oh, I see. We only sent the first one. All right, this may take a little more configuring than I have time to do live on the air because we've run out of time. But I think you guys get the idea. If the response is nicely formatted JSON, which I need to get it to do that, it will come back to Bolt. And then you can go back and forth with Bolt and get it to work properly. Apologize. If I get this app working, which I should shortly, probably after this webinar recording, I will drop it into the training document for you guys to see. Okay, apologize I couldn't get it working live. Bolt is a back and forth. I want to try one more.
Last I heard,
Let's see what it does when I attempt to fix.
It sounded like there were kind of two sets of groups. There's about 5,000 people that could be reassessed, and then about
Didn't do
5,000
anything.
Does that sound right?
That's strange. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. I hope this was valuable. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Yeah, I just mean, could you please also share the prompt you have used for this last app? Okay, I can do that. Yep, I'll do that, Marcelo. I'll add that to the document. And thanks so much. I hope to see you in my next upcoming trainings. And apologies for that one. It's not working, but you've got the other projects and it should be exciting. There's a lot you can build. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your week. And I'm going to stop the recording. Thanks.